You made it.
Just one more thing.
Is this a sentimental night? Oh, yeah. Oh, probably the last one.
It definitely was. I was thinking about it earlier today.
Yeah, you say it wasn't.
This was my first introduction to coming to a finance.
Oh, you're kidding. And you stayed.
Yeah, 8 years.
Crazy.
Good on your resume, you stayed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't seen a movie, but it's, from what they said, it's artistic, basically, Robert's gonna.
Yeah, no, I have one more year.
Good thing we still have rock bales and all this crazy.
Yeah, it's on one of the streamers.
Yeah.
I watched it, yeah. So it's pretty. Kind of corn, not corn.
Is it crowded over there?
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad. You know,
When the traffic was backed up and I said, oh, no, that's just fine. Then I realized it was the cop was in.
When you think about all that.
it was busy earlier. It was busier earlier and then it's starting now.
I think it's in the bylaws, we have to wait the night.
Oh, yeah.
Should have it finished by 7.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Anything new in here?
No, just quality.
We already got it.
Yeah. Just not places. For kids, whatever. 8 to 9 hours.
And how was that
I
possible?
think I get that a week.
You gotta go sit early.
Does he have to do something?
He told me.
Yeah, taking my phone, yeah.
You're good.
We're good.
I'll be up at 11.
Okay, I'll call. Okay, call me to order at 6. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, you're up.
Where are we starting?
I'm sorry, public comment. Anybody have public comment? Sit down.
No one's on the Zoom.
Okay. All right, Clancy, please go ahead on Article 8.
So Article 8, so this is the police civilian dispatchers contract. It's going to be a 3-year contract. First year is going to be $48,000. And so what's taking place here is we redid the wage schedule for the dispatchers. And so what you'll see a lot of the time is that dispatchers will come on, they'll get a little bit of year or two of experience, then they go to the police department, then they go to the fire department, then they go to some, become a paramedic or some sort of other public safety agency. And so it became a revolving door down there. And so what we wanted to do is increase the salaries and then increase them so you got a step every year. Your salary was increased every year to make it more of a career, because those are important jobs. And we want to make sure that when our public safety officials show up, the people who are taking the calls and parroting back the information, they have the correct information, they're distributing that information correctly. Our public safety officials are going sort of into these situations, safe, and they know what's going on. And so the other thing that is in here is that management previously could not hire anybody that was, higher than the lowest person that was being paid. So if you had somebody from the street who had 15 years of experience, but your lowest person was a step 1, you could only bring them in as a step 1. So we were able to strike that out, and now we can bring people up to step 6. And so now we can bring in more experienced people at a higher step and actually get them in the door. That's it.
Question, Sharon?
And this starts July 1st.
Correct.
Okay, so there's been nobody hired under this yet?
Nope.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Is this a 3 or 1?
3-year.
Okay, so you did a 3 on this one.
Yeah, so this one was basically done before I had decided that it was time to move on. We just were sort of working out the details, right? And so we were able to work out those details sort of in between after that time.
I didn't have a quick chance to read it. What were their COLAs?
No COLAs,
No COLAs.
no COLAs, so it's just a wage scale adjustment.
Okay. Is that unusual?
We've done it once or twice before, but we did it
How do you
last.
get away with that?
Yeah, we did it last time with the paramedics.
Yeah.
And so, we were able to do it this time basically because we were adjusting the wage scale. And so the COLAs are kind of built into the new wage scale.
Where's money come from?
I just raised and appropriate. Since it doesn't have to come from anywhere because it's for the first year.
2026.
So it'll be the 26.
26, okay, so it'll be built into next year's budget. But except for 46,000.
48,000, we have to raise and appropriate for this year. So it's not covered in the budget number.
Got it. And then next year's will. Perfect. That's all I have. Thank you.
Eric?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Don? Colleen?
No, we've heard the chief talk about this before, we've heard this situation come up, so I'm glad it was addressed and everybody's happy with it. I think it'll go a long way to hiring.
Nothing for me, sounds good.
Jim? No questions? Nope.
Yeah, a couple things. What did we get in return for what you, I understand why you did it.
Yeah, so the biggest thing was we got the supervisor out of the union, and then we got the ability to hire people up to step 6. And so a lot of the time what was happening is that because we had that funky language in there,
Right.
we were only getting brand new people, or people who wanted to go into be a police officer, be a firefighter. We'd get them for 2 years, they'd go be a police officer, and then we'd have to start the whole process all over. And we were constantly understaffed in there.
Right.
So now we have the ability to hire up to step 6. So now we can bring in experienced people, and there's not always constant turnover down there.
What will stop someone from deciding to go in the police department or fire department?
It's not gonna stop them now, but the way that it's set up now is more of a career than it was before. And so the way that it was set up before is that there was a step at 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. Then you wouldn't get a raise outside of cost of living from 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20. So there were no bumps in your salary in between then. And so now it goes, you get a bump every year up to 15 years.
And how much difference in overtime? The potential for overtime. If you're a policeman, you can go for detail, et cetera.
So-
It's not overtime, but if you're a fireman, I mean, you're talking, if I was on the dispatches, I'd have to stay 2 or 3 years and try to get into one of the other departments.
Yeah, and so, but what this does now is that you have career dispatchers, so we have career dispatchers over there.
Okay, then.
And then we're now likely able to grab other career dispatchers. And so that's sort of what we were trying to accomplish, is that we don't want this constant turnover every 2 years, guys coming on, going to the police force. We wanna grab career dispatchers, keep them there, keep them trained.
Okay, I noticed you had something dealing with sick leave and also with, no sick leave. Are you having a problem with sick leave issue?
So that's the sick bank, and so we just made some adjustments to the sick bank language. And then there was some FMLA language, and so that FMLA language now is captured in every contract. The police dispatch was the last contract who didn't have it.
Okay, and then also the final thing is the wage scale. I'm trying to figure out what you gave us, what was given to us. As you said, it says 1, and then it goes underneath 27, and then it's
So 1 is the, step 1, that's your starting, and then 27 is the rate. And
So
then,
that's the dollar amount, so they get $27 an hour.
All right.
Step 8 is $31.
Oh, okay, all right, I didn't realize it was, that's all.
and so what I'll say, just quickly about the wage scale too, is that we sort of did a wage study, we looked at all sort of the police dispatchers in the surrounding area. This puts the dispatchers in sort of the medium to higher level of salaries compared to.
Okay, I just didn't understand, I didn't realize that, 1 through 5, and then 6 through 10.
No, I got it.
Thank you.
John, do you have any questions? Josh, you weren't here long enough, so, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Finance Committee recommend Article 8 as printed in the town warrant.
Second.
At the amount of $48,000.
The amount of $48,000.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor? Eleven zero. Thank you. I'm guessing we won't hear this tonight because it hasn't been out there long enough.
No, no, it has been.
Oh, it has?
Yeah.
Near your location.
It'll be tough.
It is.
I have to make up a quick recommendation, so.
Oh.
All right, moving on to Article 38.
So Article 38, what's going on here, so this was brought to me by two select board members, and they would like the opportunity to do hybrid town meeting. And so we had a long conversation at the select board level, and it's sort of a philosophical decision of the select board as the policy-making body, and then town meeting obviously is the body to decide if they want to allow hybrid town meetings. And that's sort of the situation. It's a policy decision, and go from there.
Okay, I'm gonna lead off on this one because the overriding question here is how much is this gonna cost the state?
And so what I'll say about this, right, is that we sort of looked into it sort of like surface level. We didn't do a huge deep dive into it because we wanted to see sort of at the policy level, is this something people are interested in, or is this something people are not interested in? And so, I've obviously put it in, and I put in sort of this when I hadn't resigned yet at this point, and so I said it would take effect 2026 annual spring town meeting. And so if it was voted on and approved by this town meeting, that would give us a year to sort of figure it out. But, I don't know what it's gonna cost. I can't imagine it's gonna cost a ton of money. It's sort of not, it's not a huge lift, and the technology that we have is sort of at end of life anyways, and we need to upgrade at this point anyways.
Before I send it around to everybody else, the chairman of are you the chairman?
I am.
Okay. Of the remote, what is it?
The electronic voting committee.
Electronic
We
voting.
took out implementation since we've been implemented for a while.
Okay. You'd like to say something?
Well, I just, I'm fine here, if that's all right with everyone. It was brought to my attention from Donald, actually, who's also a member of the EBC. And so I did a little bit of legwork looking into it and spoke with the town clerk. Our role as a committee is an oversight lending hand to both the moderator and the town clerk's office. We have no authority other than just being an assistance on site during the sessions, town meeting sessions. I'm sure you all know the custodian of all voting records and voting technology, including our customized remote system, is under the auspices of the town clerk's office. So I went to her regarding this. Donna thinks it's too early in the process. I also, and I'll get into a little bit more detail about our conversation. And it probably wouldn't be a bad thing to have Donna speak on this article, or at least be asked questions during town meeting when it comes up. But nonetheless, I was interested in how it could even be done if it was allowed by state law. And right now, there are Senate and House bills in the Joint Oversight Regulation Committee. Nothing was done by December 31st on that. It had started early, actually it started in the fall of 2023 out of the Senate. And then the House had its own bill. Here's my concern. Both bills say that any remote, all voting, remote or in person, has to be a roll call vote. And if you're not sure what a roll call vote is, that means we have to read all 240 names, yay, nay. So that really is taking out the electronic voting on site, unless, as Clancy said, in a year's time, can come up with a plan of saying that we could just post them, the votes, the names on the screen or whatever, and consider that a roll call vote for the people in the hall. And then meanwhile, the town clerk would have to log manually the remote votes and then calculate the two together and give the moderator the total. So the whole idea around implementing electronic voting to begin with was to speed up the process on the floor. And that this would certainly take it back. Further discussion with Donna, she said there's two communities in our general area, Belmont and Lexington, that have implemented this. I didn't think you could without state law, but it's above my pay grade. Nonetheless, Belmont apparently hires a company to do it, and Lexington has the town clerk's office do it, and they have sent her sort of a list of where the problems are. So she said, I feel more comfortable to let it go through committee at the State House, see if it becomes state law, let a few of the other communities work out the kinks, and then bring it back for discussion here. And again, it really doesn't affect us as an electronic voting committee, other than that roll call situation and how that would be handled. Personally, on my own, I would be against it at this time and would be happy to reconsider it down the future and in the future. Just to piggyback on something Clancy said regarding the end of life of the current voting system. It really has served its purpose. It is it's in its 14th town meeting year, beginning 2025. So we have done 26 town meetings and a couple of special ones as well with this. And that's a credit to Chris. Chris customized this from supposed to be a 36 student classroom to 240 student classroom. And it really has served its purpose with some nights with some bugs, but that's to be expected. Nonetheless, it may be something that we should consider looking into because there is better technology out there. But I don't think there's a rush on that, especially if this is going to be considered, because there might be a possibility of somehow the technology can help out on remote voting as well for town meeting. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for letting me weigh in. I'm going to go back down unless anyone has any questions for me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely, I would bring the town clerk's office into this discussion. Thank you.
Josh, questions?
I was thinking the same thing you were about cost, but that's definitely, there's a few $1,000s. Okay, I can be convinced. Find out it's tens of thousands of dollars and there's all kinds of stuff needed, and I'm less convincible. And the roll call vote was my other question. The idea of calling those names out, no. No, please don't do that to us.
And so, can I just pipe in real quick? And so like, other communities have done this, right? And so he brought up two, and then there's 2 or 3 other communities that have done this. And, the roll call piece hasn't been brought up, so I'd have to look further into it. And that's sort of what I was saying, right, is that's why I gave it a year timeline, because, I knew all these questions were going to exist, but it's one of those things, it's a philosophical decision of, do you think that you should allow remote participation or not? And then you can sort of figure out all these bugs within the year's time.
Philosophically, I have small philosophical reservations, but nothing set in stone. But this is one of those things, like, let as many towns as possible roll it out, let them test it. Let the state beat them up for some violation of law or another, and we can sail in when it's a more established thing.
Sharon?
I also had roll call votes, question mark underlined, because that just sounds like it would, as many people as remote would draw in, I think it would then drive out more, than it would draw in. So, that's all I have to say about it at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This vote is for just recommend the committee to review.
No, so it's to send something to the state legislature to allow the town of Billerica to do this permanently. So right now, under the sort of, one of the COVID acts, they extended the ability to be able to do this. So you can do remote town meeting right now without sort of a bill like this. But that's not my decision to make, that's not the board's decision to make, that should be town meeting's decision to make. Do they want to allow something like this? And that was the whole purpose of this, is to, do you want to allow remote participation or not?
First thing comes to mind is a chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
It sounds like we need this to be able to go off and research and see if we want to do it, where if they don't, if nothing exists, no legislation, then barring all the technical pitfalls. I mean, I watched this meeting with people doing remote and audio, video, voting, when people get up, they want to ask a question, if they're remote, do they have a camera? Audio doesn't work. I mean, I remember the fun we had with Phil and his computer when,
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding, Phil.
What did I do now?
Nothing, but I would not recommend this at this time. I would recommend we wait and see where things go and don't break something that's not broken. I also agree with this could have a detrimental effect on town meeting, just the fact that now all of a sudden we try to streamline, compress, be efficient. The electronic voting in the hall is great. I mean, I think that they've done a fantastic job. Peter Grilli, is he the guy who's the guy who put that all together originally?
I don't know.
I'm trying to think. I remember the guy who did it, but yeah, the first couple of years we had problems, and then it streamlined out. The biggest problem we run into is people don't know how to turn them on. The battery's dead. They drop them and they explode on the floor. But it works very well, and we have an electronic copy of everything that's going on. I just think this is a disaster waiting to happen. I think if all of a sudden we turn into it turns town meeting into 6 days because it takes forever to get through simple articles, people are gonna not become town meeting members anymore. And I don't see a problem with making people show up downstairs twice a year, for how long it takes. Do your homework. We're here. I don't know how many meetings we had this year to go all through this stuff. If you're that concerned, show up.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Eric?
What those folks say, I think there's a place for remote participation, illness, having an infant, all kinds of things like that, but I will tell you that, except for this committee, which has a freakishly high attendance record, other committees that I belong to, you'll say to someone, oh, you're on Zoom, are you sick? No, I haven't had dinner yet, and it's like, open meeting law was established and remote participation was established to allow for people who couldn't make it. And it's gotten way out of control in terms of lots of people not showing up at all because they don't want to, and they're on TV. And it makes it a little bit more complicated. I don't think we're ready for this. I can see that we will be ready for it, and not that long from now. But that'll be after we all have chips implanted in our wrists, so we just wave what our vote is, wherever we are. But I'm gonna go against this for now.
Yeah.
If we were staying Clancy, I might give it more consideration.
It's not my battle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just real quick, I think the only reason that we should have remote participation is for people who, for whatever reasons of disability or things like that, just cannot get into town hall and get into the hall, it's the auditorium itself. But, you know, short of that, I think like the requirement, it's not a law, but it is a requirement that, you know, we're all prepared when we get into town meeting. And if we look, you know, we do the research we need to do. If people can't physically get in, I can see having this, but for all the reasons that have come up so far. Plus, my concern is, you know, I'm trying not to sound a little silly about it, but I could potentially envision people at home, sitting at their TV and, you know, I don't know how they actually make the electronic vote, but, you know, having the relatives sort of in the sides off camera and saying, don't vote for this. You know, people, you know, getting texts from their friends because they know they're a town meeting member. Maybe that's a little extreme, but I am concerned about the security of the process because in person, we have our clicker. You sit next to a bunch of other people who aren't gonna let you, you know, hand it to them. Yeah, vote for me. Well, yes, yeah, I feel like it right now. And, you know, you got a cop at the door and, you know, we're the only ones who can be in that section without permission. And those things are there for a reason, and you can't do that with electronic voting. So if those issues can be resolved in the future, I will definitely vote for this just for that reason. That I think even for a person with severe disabilities, they should be allowed to be part of the democratic process. But right now, we're not there, so I will not be voting for this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for allowing Kevin to come up and speak on that. Having conversations with Kevin to what you had said, John, the building is handicap accessible. So, you know, anybody could come in here and do town meeting. Was it totally veteran, I suppose?
Yeah.
That is what it is. I don't know how this would work, just to what you said also with someone sitting at the couch. So how do I know it's actually that person? I think Donna would have to have a picture of the person, have to see the person in the camera the whole time when they're voting. There's too many issues that would happen with this. This is just not ready for prime time to list. There's too many bad things could happen with this. We don't have the software. What everybody's saying as far as let other towns do it. If they really want to do it, let them do it. Let's see what happens, how they hash it out. Even if they do, I don't know if I'd still do it, honestly. That's all I have. Thank you.
Kelly?
I watched two separate town meetings that do this. One ran pretty smooth. It's been in the making for a few years, and they also sent in something, I don't know to who or what the legal thing of it was, and it was up to the moderator if he wanted to do roll call vote. When the screen came up, blue, you were in the room, black, you were at home. The problem with that was, like just now, we got documents. That's not allowed with hybrid. You have to provide them 3 days in advance, because if somebody's at home, they're not gonna walk in and just get them. Josh was mentioning the cost. It's the town's responsibility to provide either clickers at home or an IT person who is separate for calling people to call in and say, hey, my screen froze. Some of the issues were people, they'd be on the next article and people were calling going, hey, my screen froze. I didn't get my vote on time. So then they paused town meeting, they'd wait. It took a lot of IT work, you know, like they were saying with the clickers and what they do, replacing batteries. So there's just so many ifs at this point. I would not be in favor of this. And I think Josh is right. You're gonna lose way more people than you're gonna gain. when people have to sit there 4, 6, 8 nights, you know, and it's not even just the town meeting members, it's the town manager, the assistant manager, the staff, the town clerk. Now we're asking all of these people to come and give up even more time. And I think it was Dave that said, or Mary, we come in prepared. And when everyone's in that room, their focus is of what's going on. It's not, you know, is my kid asking me for a juice box, or my phone's ringing because my boss is calling me, or,
So,
you know, we're all focused on that particular article. Who knows what's going on at home? I mean, being in that predicament over the last couple of years, not being able to go into meetings, I get it, but sometimes it's just not feasible. So I'd be a no at this time.
Right.
Yeah, I'm definitely against this, and I do this for part of my work. And I'm actually writing my master's thesis on hybrid meetings in deliberative democracy. So, so it's a very boring master's thesis, but it's on this topic, and it is so far. It's an ineffectual way to deliberate, and that was the main reason for open town meetings, to have open deliberation. The fact that it's not always real-time latency, the fact that it's on the user end is really what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about really the town end, if that technology exists. But even then, if that technology goes down, you have to go into some sort of a recess. And then that just takes time. And then you also run into the situation, well, what if people are out of state? You know, that rubs me the wrong way. I don't know if that's legal. If you're out of state, you're voting in Billerica town meeting, that's something that rubs me the wrong way. And in, you know, there can be claims of violations. Somebody says my vote wasn't registered correctly. You're gonna have to go back and do recounts. There's just so many ineffectual, not even technology parts, but just part of the whole town meeting process that I just can't support it at this time. So I'm a no on that.
Jim?
Philosophical issues aside, I think everyone's raised great points against this. What I'm mostly reminded of in this article is what we ran into with the electronic recordings of meetings. We get thrown an idea, and then over time, we have to flesh out that idea, see how it works, trial and error. We're still working out the kinks of this electronic recording things, and it's been 2 years now, right? Come back with something solid, come up with a game plan, and then, you know, maybe we'll take a closer look at it. But I just a hypothetical or an idea out there with nothing fleshed out on it, it's really hard to support that. Just from experience, we've already gone through it.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Bill?
Yeah, I'm definitely against this. Part of the reason is the 2026 time period. And some of the arguments that have been pushed forth on this is that they want more participation in town meetings. Well, I'm kind of a collector of stuff. In 2010, remember Jeff Parenti? He mentioned that. 1994, when Mr. Mercy resigned, that was mentioned there. In 2009, that was mentioned there. But the only thing I can tell you is that that's part of it. That is, money-wise, no one seems to know what it will cost. And before anything I show you, if you want a copy of this, I can send it to you, you know, without comment. You can say, right. But right now, we are able to do remote voting. And I didn't realize this, and I'll tell you where I found it. In 2019, the Mass Moderators Association has an ongoing working group called 2040 Town Meeting of the Future Working Group. But this is a 25-page document. I can send it to you. It's online. It is very interesting, and it's from the moderator's point of view, talking about this potential of abuse. It mentions Carlisle in 2019, what they did, and what they meant by remote viewing was that because according to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 10, you're allowed, but it's a big process, meaning that they had an elderly home down the street from where Carlisle is, and they could pipe it through the line and everything else, and they could actually have it, because the way Mass General Law is read, again, send that, you have, some places are doing it. But I'll tell you what, maybe we should spend our time on. Maybe it's time that town meeting has met its death. And that maybe people have been talking about for many years, town council. Maybe that's the route. Now, I don't know what, we can take the 5-minute select, what is it called this month? Select board, and we can make it into a 7. I don't know the process right now. But maybe that's something that may be cheaper in the long run. But I mean, I can tell you that, well, maybe not, but I know that Carlisle, what it does is, not Carlisle, Concord had town meeting on Sunday nights. Because they said people found out it would work, and they also offer daycare. So it's one of these things where different towns have offered. And you're right about how Brookline, I believe, is going to it in Lexington. They both have 2 groups called town meeting member associations. Brookline, from what I've been told, they meet like on a monthly basis. All the town meeting reps. 69,000 lives in that town. And I heard it's active. Lexington has claimed it's active, theirs is active, but in reality, I've heard, can't verify this, it's really not. Who knows that way? But I mean, that's just something to consider, instead of wasting, which in my opinion, wasting our time on this, and maybe start looking toward a town council. Like Franklin, I believe, is called the town council, or the town of Franklin, Mass Council, or something, it's some odd name, but there's like a hybrid, for lack of a better term. So my answer is no, but again, if you want copies of this, you can read it 24, it's interesting.
Charlie,
I know.
I want to see that.
I mean, it's one of these things you say, oh, I never thought of that, and these are the modern things. So by the way, one other thing, what is the town moderator of kind of a think of this idea?
He is not for it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Well, you've heard it all, and for me, until the state law that allows us to do this includes concerns that everything you just heard here tonight, I'd never be in favor of this at all, because everything everybody said is a legitimate concern about something, doing something like this. So until the law itself addresses it, it's not a good idea. As they say, government's a participatory sport. John?
Full contact. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that the Finance Committee recommend Article 38 as printed in the Springtown warrant.
Second.
Jeff? All those in favor? Opposed? Zero.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm going to take my leave of this fine meeting.
Yes, I know.
Attend caucus.
Do we
Needed.
want to go this one more article? We got about 20 minutes before town meeting, or do we want to come back?
We still need to get our clippers
Or-
and stuff.
yeah.
How do I come back?
You want to come back?
I got my clicker.
How quick is this?
It's honestly 2 seconds, it's basically
Demon
just
man.
zoning cleanup. It's zoning cleanup, the biggest change is just really the name. It's some wording changes, but, this is language we got from the state. We just wanna make sure everybody's able to have flood insurance at the end of the day.
Okay, so it's just the red line is the present law, and the black is the new.
Yeah, and that's what's in zoning, and so this hasn't been updated since 1985, so the state reached out and said, hey, if you want Bill Rickett to be able to get flood insurance, you have to update this. That's what I did.
Does anybody have any questions on it? No.
Just one quick question. This could go on for hours.
Let's hope it does.
Will this cost any taxpayer or any citizen in this town who has flood insurance, will this cost him more money?
So all we're doing is allowing people to be able to get flood insurance.
Right, but if you have it now, you're paying, I don't know what, with this cost,
This is not changing that you have flood insurance, and so this has nothing to do with the rate of flood insurance.
all right, that's what I'm,
Yeah, so I'm not messing with the rate, I'm just allowing you to be able to,
you,
not me, but.
whoever's involved.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jim?
Yes.
Phil, I think, who is here. I believe there are some people who are on the river who cannot get flood insurance now.
Right.
This will, I guess, allow them to get flood insurance, whatever the cost is, but they can get it.
Well, I wasn't sure if you were already having it now paying, say, $100 a year, I'm making up a number. And now because they've expanded the flood plain, your rate will go skyrocket. That's what I'm just
But I
trying
don't
to.
think that's it, right? Clint?
Yeah,
It's
it's
another
really,
allowing it.
it's really reducing it for the most
No,
part, so.
I mean, I'm not in the floodplain district.
Yeah, yeah.
The only downside I could see to this is if you're now in that zone, your insurance company could say, you have to take that now. So it could end up costing people a lot of money. But I've been on the other side where we weren't allowed to get it and we got flooded. This was many years ago. And even so much FEMA was here, they were walking around and they were like, sorry, I got flood insurance. And we're like, we didn't know we could get it. We weren't like, so, yeah, there's kind of a double side to that. Some won't like it, some won't. It's like everything.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Finance Committee recommend Article 44 as printed in the spring town warrant.
Second.
Move to second, all those in favor? Opposed? 0.
Thank you.
We'll worry about minutes in another meeting. Entertain a motion to adjourn, second.
Aye.
Thank you. See your dad.
Hi, Jay.
I was it's exhausting, but terrifying.
Get over it.
I love it, like,
So you must be tired.
Send me those.
Yeah.
I love reading.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I
Thank you.
was scared, I was shit. Yep, you're welcome.
It's actually been long.
So you all.
You're almost there. Well. All right, sounds good. Thanks, FinCom. Thank you.
Oh, I definitely remember.
Yeah, so can you imagine a town meeting, everyone like that? And it was Gil Moreira who did
It's so
he did the
frightening.
initial setup.
It's
Wasn't
so-
it Gil who did the?
Definitely not really bad.
No, it was Gil.
Yeah, I think Gil was very involved in it,
Yeah,
yes.
he kind of helped drive it.
I don't think there's a liquid license. Oh, Dave, did you turn it off?
I didn't turn anything on, I already come out.
Well,
Oh.
Okay.
it's still recording,
Still recording?
yeah. I think, because it seems to be. I think we went on.
Where the hell is, what was the stuff?
I'm gonna turn this off.
Let me go bring this for,